Hey guys, Worldwide Sports here. With the NFL season now underway, we're going to take an in-depth look at all 32 teams in the NFL, see how they stack up going into the season. Today we're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's get into it. Now last year the Eagles made the big move in trading up to the second pick in the draft and selecting quarterback Carson Wentz. And with Wentz under helm and rookie head coach Doug Peterson, they were able to go 7-9 and finished last in the division. The season wasn't all for loss, as the Redskins made great strides and their young players got a chance to develop. Let's look at some of the offseason moves that GM Howie Roseman made to get this team to the playoffs this year. Now, GM Howie Roseman is one of the best in the business in my opinion. This offseason, he gave his young quarterback two big time proven weapons and got him for nice low deals. They brought in all pro Alshon Jeffrey and they also brought in Torrey Smith. This gives the Eagles one of the better wide receiver duos in the league. And on the defensive side, Roseman put off a nice trade acquiring former Ravens big man Tim Jerniman. They also brought in Super Bowl winner Chris Long. Going into the draft with their first pick, the Eagles selected defensive end Derek Barnett out of Tennessee. Now, he's not a workout warrior, but this guy was very productive in college. He had 32 career sacks and broke former Eagles great Reggie White's record. In the second round, they went defense again, selecting cornerback Sidney Jones out of Washington. And in the third round, they went back-to-back corners, selecting Rasul Douglas out of West Virginia. In the fourth round, they looked to get a couple of weapons for Carson Wentz. They selected Mac Hollins, wide receiver out of North Carolina, and also selected Donnell Pumphrey, running back out of San Diego State. In the fifth round, they selected Shelton Gibson, the wide receiver out of Virginia. And in the fifth round, they selected Nathan Jerry, linebacker out of Nebraska. Wrapping up the draft for the Eagles, they selected Elijah Qualls, defensive tackle out of Washington. Philadelphia has some nice building blocks on the defensive side of the ball. Even though they let Connor Barwin go last year, they still have the pieces to make an impact and get to the quarterback. Last year, the Eagles ranked 12th in the league in points allowed, allowing just under 21 a game. And Jim Short's side of the ball was able to get 34 sacks last year, finishing 16th in the league. Now they were led by guys like Brandon Graham. Graham last year only had 5.5 sacks, and they're going to be looking for him to make an improvement this year. Graham also had 11 tackles for loss, but they also had the big man Fletcher Cox, who was a disruptive big man up front. Cox last year had 6.5 sacks and got 4 tackles for loss. Linebacker Nigel Bradman led the team with 102 tackles last year and had 2 sacks and an interception. But the season is probably going to come down to how the young quarterback Carson Wentz does in his sophomore season. Last year, Wentz had 3,700 passing yards and had 16 touchdowns with 14 interceptions. Now, considering he didn't have the greatest weapons last year and was sacked 33 times, these are very decent numbers. At the running back position, they have Ryan Matthews, who led the team with 660 yards and averaged 4.3 yards per pop and pounded in 8 touchdowns. The wide receiver position will definitely be upgraded with Alshon Jeffrey and Torrey Smith. Last year, they were led by tight end Zach Ertz. Ertz last year had 78 catches for over 800 yards and averaged 4 touchdowns. Hitting Carson Wentz was by far the better quarterback out of him and Jared Goff coming out of last year's draft. And I feel like he proved that last season. Now his sophomore season is going to be interesting to see how he grows. He has better weapons. His offensive line is solid enough. He doesn't have the greatest ground game that every young quarterback would want, but he has enough pieces to be able to grow and mature. And Doug Peterson is a quarterback friendly coach. Now I feel like going forward, these two will be able to make a little bit of magic together and give those Eagles fans something they've been hoping and clamoring for, and that's a winner. With the additions this offseason, I look for the Eagles to be on the positive side of the win column this year. I feel like they may be a year away from competing in that crowded NFC East division. I feel like the growing pains this year are going to be too much for them to overcome, but I still feel they'll make good strides. I feel like the Eagles will finish third in the division, beating out the Redskins and missing the playoffs with a 9-7 record. Alright, Eagles fans, let me know how I did. Comment down below. Subscribe to the channel, guys. We got a lot more coming. Worldwide Sports. We're getting out of here. This has been a Worldwide Sports production.